Today we're going to talk a little bit about the crankshaft for my Yamaha YL1 100 project. And this is a crank. I just got it back a few weeks ago from being rebuilt. I had a little difficulty getting someone willing to rebuild this crank because of the center block, this aluminum block that you see here. Apparently it's got to be fixtured properly to be able to press the crank apart. These are the big bearings, main end bearings by the way, that sit down inside of here. And one has to take apparently care with this. So I contacted several of the crank rebuilders that I've used in the past, and none of them frankly were willing to do it because of the need to fixture this. Ultimately I did find a crank rebuilder in California who would do it, as well as I stumbled upon a business called Roy's Rides out of Missouri. This past summer of 18, I was flipping through the Vintage Japanese Motorcycle Club magazine, and I saw a little ad in one corner that I'd never seen before, the magazine for Roy's Rides, and he indicated that he rebuilt two-stroke crankshafts. So I contacted Roy initially by email. Ultimately, we did have several phone calls, but nonetheless, Roy was willing to do it. He had it a few weeks or so. He had to order some parts as well as I sent him some parts, and here it is. A couple things I wanted to talk about. These are the original parts that Roy sent back with the motor. One of the things I wanted to discuss was one of the connecting rods. In fact, I think it was this originally was the left side connecting rod right here in my left hand, and you probably can see that it's bent. It's got a little kink off to the right. I think that probably happened when the piston snagged the ports and ended up obviously putting a kink in this rod, as well as the small end bearing is bent in such a way that the small end bearing you can't get out. You can see it's still in there. In addition to that, the original rods that I had, because I'd sourced the original rods, I'd sent to Roy, he wasn't satisfied with. This shows you the care that the man uses. So he sourced some additional rods himself and weighed the rods until he got two of them. I think it was a combination of one I sent him and one he bought, if I recall, to weigh approximately the same. That's what these are obviously mounted in here. You'll notice a difference in the rods. This one on the right has a relief cut in it, probably for oiling purposes. This one doesn't. That's perfectly fine. These are both the right part number for this engine. They were superseded part numbers, and I think the one on the left, the shinier one, is the later part number, if I recall. Again, I think I'd spoken a moment ago about these thrust washers that fit down in here like this, two on each side. These are the originals. Where I did replace one of the piston pins. You can see it right here. This is the one he replaced. You can probably see the wear my thumb is, my fingernail is there and there. He wasn't happy with that, so he sourced an additional one. The other he reused. Again, these are the bearings that fit like this. These are the originals. They're not in bad of shape, not in too bad of shape actually. And then the large bearings. These are the bearings again that sit down in here, something like that. And they're definitely beyond their prime. They've got a little, especially this one's got a little hitch in those get along. You can probably hear that. So Roy replaced those bearings with new American-made bearings from National, a good quality bearing. I asked Roy to only use the best parts he could find, which he did. So he took it apart, cleaned it all, pressed it back together, and there it is. Now, these rubber seals right here on this cover, this aluminum unit here, I'm not sure what I'm going to do about those. You can source those on eBay. They're no longer available from Yamaha. They're very expensive. And the superseded part numbers don't look exactly the same. They don't have these vertical pieces, these stems. They have just the round ring part. What I will probably do is just reuse these and seal them up with the sealer that I use between the crankcase halves. I think is what I'll probably do, and just reuse these and not, I'll clean them up a little bit further. Get the old, it looks like that's sealer right there. Get the old sealant off of them and probably just seal them up really well and not attempt to replace them. So that's the crank. Waiting to go back in the lower end. Very smooth. I highly recommend Roy's rides. Had a couple conversations with Roy back and forth regarding the weight of the connecting rods and what kind of bearings I wanted, and he was very personable, easy to work with, quick turnaround once he got his parts, and showed sincere interest in the project and getting it right. So I highly recommend anyone that's looking to have a two-stroke crankshaft rebuilt. He was economical, he was very reasonably priced, and he's out of Missouri. I think I indicated that before. I will put a link in this video towards the end of his website if anyone would like to contact him, and I also have a little bit of review of this on my webpage, my blog, where he is now one of my preferred suppliers. That's it for this video. Any questions, feel free to drop me a note, and as usual, thanks for watching.